Check TV. Subscribe.
He has also talked about it. That left hook was so good, and it's so long and so precise.
What's going on, guys? It's Backchat TV and I'm back with another video. Today we're gonna get into a couple of things that happened on the undercard over the weekend. A few fights that may have been missed. I may have missed out. I made a few videos, but there's a lot of fights and a lot of things happened over the weekend that I didn't get to comment on. So I'm just gonna basically review and talk about a few of the things that happened. So let's start off with Conor Benn. Conor Benn made a much anticipated return. I suppose it's an anticipated return. I'm not quite sure. I kind of feel like Conor Benn may have, I'm not sure if he still has his fan base because of the stuff with the steroid abuse and all that stuff and the excuses, and you know, I'm not sure. It's going to be a little bit difficult for him to get that fan base back. It still seems like he's kind of somebody who's most hated at the moment. Conor Benn tried to win the fans back by kind of assuring them that he was going to have this great performance and a demolition job, and it didn't quite happen. It was a good performance. I think he won most of the rounds, definitely, but it wasn't an outstanding performance, you know, and I think that's done, I think it's hurt him a little bit, because there's been a lot of allegations that his performance was lackluster due to the fact that he's now off the steroids, which is something you could have predicted would be levied at him. And you know, that was always going to happen if he had a performance that was less than what people were used to, you know. So unfortunately, the Dobson win didn't really do much for his stock. I don't think his stock has risen at all since he's beaten this Dobson guy, which is a shame, because I think Dobson was a lot better than people thought. He had a good record for a reason, so I do think he was a tough fighter. Do I think it's fair what they're saying about Benn? Not really, you know. Benn, whether Benn is guilty or innocent, he's served his ban, he's served his time. He's been away from boxing for a while and now he's back. I think people should forget about it, whether he was guilty or not, you know. He hasn't failed one now, as of late, as of recent tests, you know, and so we have to kind of stop judging him on things before. But having said that, I do think that there is some weight to the argument, because I was one of the people that thought that on the balance of what he said combined with the evidence, it did seem as if he was guilty. You know, I listened to every single thing Conor Benn said in his defense, and I didn't see anything in what he said that was a good enough excuse for having that substance found in his body. You know, it wasn't anything that naturally occurs in the body, but was just a little bit higher, like an atypical test. We heard that mentioned a few times with PED'S, but just like in his case, it was something already that is produced in the body. It wasn't something that can easily be, you know, created if you mix certain things together, which can be found in everyday foods or anything like that. You know, it was something quite specific. So yeah, he didn't really have an answer for that. So I do think he took the steroids, but also not just because of that, but I do think there's been a difference in his performance. Now, when Conor Benn first came on the scene, you know, he's always been an explosive fighter, fast hands, fast feet, you know, great movement, and you can see he's obviously extremely talented, Conor Benn. But he was never really this massive concussive knockout puncher like Gervonta Davis or PED'S or anything like that. He was more like someone who puts together his combinations really well and kind of ends up stopping guys on their feet because of the barrage of shots. And he's a real sharpshooter, you know, like I said, extremely talented. He was kind of stopping guys on his feet, going the distance, majority wins, things like that very early on. And then I feel like there was this drastic change in his power. And not just his power, but his physical development. Yeah, around this time when he fought maybe Van Herden, when he fought Chris Algieri, a few other fighters, he had some outstanding performances. And even Chris Algieri was like something kind of strange about how much power he had suddenly. All of a sudden, that natural talent he has combined with this unnatural power just made him a force to be reckoned with. Like I said, even his physical development, I remember before the ban he was showing pictures of his development in the gym, and he looked like some kind of superhero, you know, literally muscles out of nowhere. Now that he's been, you know, he got popped for steroids, banned substances, he had his ban and everything. Now that he's come back physically, before he even got in the ring, he looks different. He's lost a lot of that muscle. Even when he rehydrated after the weigh-in, you could see that he wasn't as muscled. And in the ring, he wasn't as strong in the clinches and stuff like that. And he never had that power. Surprise, surprise. You know, I don't want to be someone who's just assuming things. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know if he's guilty or innocent. I can't say. But on the balance of the things that I'm looking at with my own eyes, I feel like there's been a drastic decrease in power. That talent is still there, but that power was missing. And, you know, who knows? Maybe it's just his first fight back. Everyone is entitled to be a bit rusty and, you know, not quite finding their timing yet. I do understand that totally, but I don't know. We'll have to see. If his next few fights are similar, then there was definitely something going on, to be honest. But yeah, it was a good performance. I don't want to take away from his performance by talking too much about the past. You know, he's done his time and stuff, and now he's back. I think we should just judge him on what he does now. And if we are judging him on what he's done now, then it was a good performance. You know, he won most of the rounds, and he had a good convincing win over an opponent that I think was quite a game opponent in Dobson. Moving on, we had Caroline Dubois on the card as well. She gave a really good performance. She's looking better and better. She looked really good, fast hands. She was landing a lot of punches on the lady, I forgot her name, but the lady that she was fighting, the opponent, was extremely tough as well. I think she was just on a little bit of the smaller side to really pose that much of a threat. If she was a bit taller, I think Caroline wouldn't have as much success, but you know, she had a problem with her reach. Caroline was just too quick, was just catching her every time she threw a jab. She would be countering her, you know. And Caroline's got power on, well, not power, but she's able to use both hands. She's got quite a unique stance because she's right-handed, but she stands in a southpaw position, you know. So that kind of puts people off because they think, oh, she's left-handed, her power shot's coming, you know, with the left hand, and it's the opposite or whatever. But other than that, she had a great, sharp, fast jab. She followed up with hard shots. She was digging those shots to the body. She's got good variation in her shots. She's very tenacious. She's going to be hard to beat, you know. Very good up-and-coming fighter. I still see some nerves in her where she kind of rushes her work. And I suppose that's just going to come with experience. She needs to maybe just relax a little bit and kind of just take her time and pick her shots a little bit better. You know, if there was any criticism, I would say that. A few things I would say if I was going to criticize her in any way, I would say that one thing she does is if she's throwing like a right hook and she misses, she'll come straight back with a left hook. And she has to be a bit careful of that, you know, missing and swinging. She trades a little bit too much, I feel. She could be a bit cleaner there. She doesn't always need to train. You know, if you throw a right hook and you miss, just get back in your defensive position and set up and start again with the jab and, you know, under control. Don't automatically swing back and you end up swinging. It's not good to get into a match where you're trading and swinging with someone, because there was many times where she could have got caught in between shots when she was throwing hooks, and her opponent just luckily missed a few times. But if it was someone else, maybe with more power or more reach or just a little bit more composure, she would have got hit flush with a few of those shots when she was, you know, throwing those hooks. So that's the only thing I would say she should be a bit careful of, and maybe develop more power. That's going to happen as she gets older. But other than that, you know, I think flawless performance. She is definitely one to watch. Adam Azim, great performance again. He looked fast, he looked sharp, he looked strong. You know, he's defensively minded as well, and you know, aggressive. And his opponent wasn't, you know, an easy step over. You know, he was a good opponent, an unbeaten fighter himself. I think first few rounds he looked good. You know, he looked good. He was moving out the way of Azim's punches. He wasn't someone who just came for a paycheck, you know, was going to just lay down or anything like that. He looked really good. That's what we thought. But then, I think it was like 4th round or something like that, he went down and he complained of an injury. He popped out his shoulder, which was an old injury from before, and the fight was called off. Now, I don't know if that was because he was starting to feel the heat or the pressure being turned up by Azim. Azim was definitely starting to land harder punches, and it was getting a bit more difficult in there. So I think a part of that was kind of, you know, you live to fight another day type of thing, kind of quit. At the same time, his shoulder did look like it popped out, and he had this injury from before. So, you know, we just have to, you know, make of it what you will. But at the same time, Paulson, his name was, I actually forgot the guy's name. The guy's name was Paulson, Azim versus Paulson. Other than the fact that fight ended prematurely, I still think we can assess Azim's performance, and I think he gets an A from me. Very calculated, took his time, started to break Paulson down, and then we saw what happened. I think he forced that injury. Other than that, like I said, Tyson Fury, he didn't fight, but he was involved in the cut gate. What do I think of that? I think it's ridiculous for people to say that he somehow faked the cut or cut himself. But I understand why people are saying that, because Tyson Fury has not been the most reliable character in the whole of boxing. And he's definitely been the boy who cried wolf. And now that he does have a genuine concern, injury, people don't believe him, you know, and that's what you get. It's better to just tell the truth and be authentic, like his opponent, Alexander Usyk. Alexander Usyk is a stand-up character. He's never been disrespectful to anyone or pulled out of fight. So that's why he gets more respect, and I think Tyson Fury doesn't like this. Also, another reason why I think that there are some, you know, valid reasons for why people would think that Tyson is dodging the fight is I think that Tyson Fury has never really wanted to fight Alexander Usyk. Now, I don't think this is because he's scared. Tyson Fury is not scared of anyone. I just feel like he wants to fight someone who kind of suits his style so that he can look good. Because I feel like he likes to look good. He wants the public to see him as the best fighter in the world, this 6'9" monster who's got knockout power, and people kind of don't see him like that, and I think he doesn't like that. So he likes matchups that match with him quite well. Maybe a come forward fighter that's quite kind of slow and plodding, so that his foot speed will show up against that kind of fighter, and he'll be able to counter them and maybe knock them out and look spectacular. I feel like Tyson Fury is this type of person. Someone like Usyk is not going to make you look good. Usyk doesn't make any mistakes. You know, he's calculated, his experience. You're not going to be able to do so many things. It's going to be a chess match, which means a boring match. You know, Tyson can't make any mistakes, and Usyk's not going to make any mistakes, so it might be one of the most boring fights you've ever seen. And I feel like Tyson Fury kind of knows this, and he doesn't really want the fight. He tried to swerve the fight, I think, for that reason. Also, there is the chance he can be beaten, but I think it's just really high risk. I just don't think he wanted that kind of fight. Probably the same reason why he didn't want to rematch Klitschko. Same kind of fight, you know, kind of a boring character. He's not explosive, hasn't got explosive power. He kind of does everything good. So I think that's why Fury has been postponing the fight, kind of putting the fight off. You know, with the negotiations, he was clearly just being a diva in the initial negotiations. And then when they did make the fight, suddenly, because the public went against him, to win back the public, he said, oh yeah, I'm trying to make the fight, and he made the fight when he was clearly not trying to make the fight before. And then this happens. So people are kind of losing a lot of interest in Fury, to be honest. It's going to be hard for him to redeem that. And another reason why I think it's going to be hard for him to redeem the fans is if the fight does go ahead on the new date, I think Alexander Usyk wins anyway, because I think Tyson Fury has slipped massively. Knocked down by Ngannou, knocked down by Wilder, a man who was easily controlled by Parker in the end. A blown up cruiserweight at the time, Steve Cunningham, kind of went life and death against Otto Wallin. You know, he may just not be as good as we think he is, to be honest, and we're starting to see that now. And he went life and death with a man, making his heavyweight boxing debut in Francis Ngannou. He's been going life and death in training prior to this, getting knocked down, having to send home cruiserweights and sparring partners, and then, you know, getting a clear punch through the guard, which he should have been protecting himself in training, by this no-name guy who nobody knows. Someone said it was an elbow. I have to look at it again, but it looked like a clean punch to me. I just think Tyson Fury, maybe he's not enthusiastic to train well enough. You know, if he's just boxing because of mental health, fair enough, it keeps you active, but boxing is not the way to overcome it. You know, you can stay active with something else that motivates you, but you can't just do boxing because it keeps your mental health in check, because boxing is a real sport. It's nothing to play with. If you're not 100% present and you don't 100% want to do it, you're going to get hurt. So Tyson Fury maybe needs to rethink kind of whatever he's doing at the moment. Like I said, there's some talk of Bivol and Beterbiev. There's also been some talk of Fabio Wardley versus Fraser Clark. That's a good fight. I'm not sure who I'd pick. I like Fraser Clark. He is quite fundamentally sound because he has a lot of experience. But Fabio Wardley has a lot of that tenacity, and I think Clark can sometimes be a bit reserved. You know, I think maybe I might edge Fabio Wardley to win that, to be honest. But I'm not sure, 100% not sure. Oh yeah, there was Ben Whittaker. How did I forget? Great performance by Ben Whittaker. The guy he fought came to fight. It was a good test because the guy did not want to go down. You know, he was throwing hard shots with intentions. Amazing placed body shot by Ben Whittaker, and still got up. And, you know, I mean, he was a good performance, and Whittaker, you know, knocked him out basically. So it was a good performance. But what I want to speak about briefly, more than the performance, was the backlash that Ben Whittaker has been getting because of his showboating. Now, I think it's kind of unfair, the backlash that he's had about his showboating. You know, I think the fans should let up on Ben Whittaker. That's the way he expressed himself. You know, what do you want in a fight? You want everybody to look the same? You know, that's why boxing is not as big as it should be. We want different characters. We want Prince Naseem Hamed. We want Chris Eubank Sr. These characters, Roy Jones, these people that show off. And then we want people who don't show off. You know, you want a combination. We don't want something that's resembling, you know, WWE, but we also don't want everyone just looking the same and having the same techniques. Because if you think about it, all the trainers teach the same kind of things, which results in the fighters all using the same kind of techniques, and then they all look the same and they look boring. Yeah, that can happen. We need certain characters that are like Ben Whittaker. Don't think that we should bash him. I don't think he's disrespectful either. Dancing and spinning around, as long as it doesn't affect the fighter, I don't think there's nothing wrong with it. You know, obviously us Brits, we don't like showing off. Anyone showing off or, you know, doing that kind of thing, we don't really like that. And I am kind of like that. You know, I'm kind of a reserved character a little bit as well. I don't like anything too disrespectful, you know, banter, verbal banter. I don't like anyone talking about people's family or children or dead relatives or anything like that. But the normal kind of banter I'm okay with. I don't really like people hitting each other in weigh-ins or pushing each other and stuff like that. So I do like a bit of respect, but I also do like freedom of expression, and I think Ben Whittaker should be allowed to express himself in the ring. If he gets found out by someone while doing that, then fair enough. But until then, I think fans should kind of lay off him a bit. But let me know what you think about that. Ben Whittaker, is he being disrespectful by doing that? And let me know what you think about some of the other points. Conor Benn, has his power disappeared? Is it ring rust or is it lack of steroids? Who do you think should be the next opponent for some of these fighters? Who do you think Dan Aziz should fight? I wouldn't mind seeing Dan Aziz in there with the best of them, man. Callum Smith, Anthony Yard, the same with knocked down early in his career by Joshua Buatsi. You know, I'd like to see him fight Yard or Callum Smith, and then the winner of that get a shot at Bivol and Beterbiev. But both of them are good fighters. Like I said, I think Dan Aziz just fringe world level or world level. Conor Benn. Who should Conor Benn fight next? I'm not sure. But I'm not in a hurry to move him up to this world level. I don't think he stands a chance against a Devin Haney. You know, I wouldn't mind seeing him against Adrian Broner. Adrian Broner wants a fight. He's looking for a payday. I think that would be a great fight. Oh, just before I go, I have to talk about the main event. I didn't mention that first. I did it the other way around because I spoke about the main event on a different video. But Buatsi versus Dan Aziz was a great fight. A good fight, I would say. It was challenging. It was difficult for both fighters. I felt like Dan Aziz really gave a good account of himself, and I thought it was a bit closer than most people think. Dan Aziz did some good work which kind of went a bit unnoticed, but for the most part the right man won. Obviously Joshua Buatsi dominated the fight for the most part, won most of the rounds. I feel like Dan Aziz was extremely nervous. I saw his ring walk and I've never seen anyone so nervous in my life. You know, it looked as if the bright lights had finally hit him as he was walking to the ring, and it kind of showed up in the fight a little bit. He didn't throw a lot of hard punches. You know, he threw a lot of shots and then he'd be throwing a combination of a few shots and then he'd put a hard shot in that combination. So every now and then he would throw a power shot, and when he did that it had an effect, but he didn't do it enough. Now I know a lot of people would say, oh, it's easy for you to say, but you know, if you look at Joshua Buatsi, he threw everything hard. Every shot was a power shot. He was trying to take Dan Aziz's head off with every shot. So, you know, I do feel that that was kind of the difference. Joshua Buatsi has a very strong mind. He seemed very focused, and he goes life and death. You know, he leaves it all in the ring, and I feel like against Dan, he put everything into it. If you look at those shots he threw, you know, even before the little slip stroke knockdown, it was a hard punch. A lot of the glancing blows that Dan took, even the ones that he blocked, partially blocked, whatever, Buatsi was throwing the kitchen sink at him. And I would have liked to see Dan Aziz kind of just throw a few more power punches just to get a little bit more into the fight, make it a little bit more competitive. I think that was down to nerves. You know, he got a little bit scared of being countered, and he was too hesitant to throw power punches after that. But either way, you know, it was a great performance by both men. Where does Joshua Buatsi go? Well, obviously, we want to see him get a title shot against Beterbiev or Bivol. But I think it's a good thing that just recently, Bivol and Beterbiev have agreed to fight, and so he's probably not going to get that next. He's going to probably end up having a fight, maybe Yard or Callum Smith or someone like that first. But I think that could be a good thing. You know, I know he doesn't want to wait and he wants to get the title shot, but I think it might work out perfect for him to have one more fight, tough fight, against a Callum Smith or an Anthony Yard, someone who's going to push him athletically if it's Yard, and, you know, with the power with Callum Smith, you know, all different things, because he's going to need that to have a chance against Bivol or Beterbiev. You know, other than that, I would say he kind of really doesn't have much chance, especially against maybe Beterbiev. You know, that power really comes through with Beterbiev. But you know, I think it's looking good. Like I said, if he gets through the next fight, which is either Callum or Yard, I would have thought, lines him up for a title shot against the winner, and he's got a chance. He's got every chance. He's got a very strong mind, Joshua Buatsi. I don't feel like, you know, he would go down and quit easily. You know, and I think he's athletic enough to give any one of those men trouble. So we'll see what happens. But for now, I'm on to the next one.
I said, guess who's back? Man, guess who's back? I said, guess who's